welcome back. So today we're going to make a really easy project to do some windowsill onions, something for people who don't have room outside to grow onions, a little space saver, or for anybody who wants to do some extra onions. I already have some out in the garden, but a family member of mine actually got their hands on some wholesale onions. I guess they got them really cheap, so they gave us all a bunch of bags. So I've got some yellow onions and some red onions I don't want to let go to waste. Plus, I'm sure anybody who grows the extra, I'm sure there's people who would love to get their hands on some free onions from you, whether it be family members or friends, etc., etc. So all you need from this project, it's a really frugal, cheap, and easy project, is you need some sort of a container. I'm using an old juice container that I cut up. You could use a soda bottle, whatever you want to use, some sort of a container that you can cut and poke holes in, so it's got to be moderately flexible. I'm using one of the Simply Made juice containers. They're pretty sturdy. The stickers come off really easy, so it makes it a nicer looking container. And I'm going to show you as we go along exactly how we're going to make this work. When you're picking your container, just think about how many onions do you want to be able to grow and what size do you want your onions to be. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cut holes all along the edges of this, which are actually going to be where the greens of our onions are going to come out. So what you're going to need for that is first you need scissors to cut off the top of your container. Make sure if you're a kid that you're using adult supervision to do that, and everybody else just be careful. You don't want to cut yourself. It's kind of a pain. And then you're going to need something to be able to poke holes in your container. I'm just using a little push pin to get my hole started, and then I have a mini pair of scissors to open that hole up. So let's get that started. And make sure you pay attention to your hole spacing depending on the size of your onions. You'll see what I mean when we go to plant these onions in. I plan on doing a bit smaller onions because this is a smaller container, probably about 1 inch to 1.5 inches around. So I'm going to plant, the onions are going to be somewhat layered. I'm going to do 2 on each layer. I'm putting my holes in the corner edges of the container because that's the sturdiest area to do it. And I'm going to do them about every 1 inch to 1.5 inches or so. And again, use adult supervision or be careful when you're doing this. Anybody knows it's not always the easiest to get holes in containers like this. And your holes don't have to be too big. As you can see, I've got them maybe 1/8 of an inch around. So I've done my 2 for my lower layer. Now I'm gonna switch to the opposite 2 corners and go up about 1 inch and do 2 more holes for the next layer of onions. Onions are great to cook with. You can do so much with it. It adds so much flavor. Honestly, one of my favorites is when it comes to barbecue and onion. Barbecue chicken mixed with some onions and scallions. It's always delicious, especially if you're doing on a wrap or fajita or pizza or something to that effect. Another one I really love is sauteing up some onions and mushrooms and putting them on top of a burger or on top of your steak. There's so many possibilities, and it's just such an easy thing to grow and then to pass out to your family and friends after the harvest. And they tend to store really well through the winter time as long as you do it under the right conditions. And now I'm going to swap back to my other 2 corners and go up another 1 inch or so. And I'm just going to keep doing this until I get to about 1 inch below the top of my container. Now that we've got all our holes set, it's up to you if you want to put drain holes in the bottom of this. Remember that if you decide not to put drain holes, you have to be really particular about your watering, because you don't want water to end up sitting in the bottom of your container not being used. That's going to cause your onions to rot and not do well. But if you do cut drain holes, you're going to have to be careful about where you place this when you're watering it. Maybe put it in the sink to water it, or do some sort of a catch tray to make sure that you don't end up leaking water all over your house, depending on whether you're putting this on a kitchen windowsill or in your living room in front of the window. Or so just make sure you pay attention to that, whether or not you want to put drainage holes in there. Now the next thing we're going to do is I have a bucket over here of my soil medium. Remember, whenever you're doing a soil for onions, you want something that's on the loamer side, more towards the sandy side of loam. You don't want something that's clay-like. You want something that's soft and maneuverable, maybe has a lot of peat in it, a lot of sand in it, and good nutrition, so that your onions can easily push through that soil and be able to grow nice and hardy. So we're going to start out by putting a small layer of soil in the bottom of this, so it gets to just below our first holes that we made. Okay, now we're going to go back and forth laying our onions and our dirt, and we're going to make it so that the very tip of the onion where your green is going to sprout is going to be poking out the hole. So if you're looking at your onion, this is a yellow onion, the little point right here is where your green is going to come out, and then this is your root side. So you want to place those in so that that point is facing right towards the hole there. And just put the tip right towards it. Not out of it, but so that it's just sticking into it. And I'll show you what I mean of what's going to happen. Here's an onion that's already started to sprout in the bag. And then I can show you how this is actually going to end up growing, potentially. So I can get to the hole there. So then the green will end up making its way out of the hole to get to the oxygen. And then we're going to cover that back up with soil to right below our next holes. Alright, you want to pack it down a little bit, but you're not going to pack it down like as if you were stepping on it, because again, you want something that's nice and easy for the onions to be able to grow through. And I'm actually going to layer this back and forth, some green onions and then some red onions. And since I'm only going to fit so many in here, I'm going to try to pick out some really nice bulbs here. Now that we've filled this up to the top, we'll give it a good water. Remember, onions really like a consistent watering until they've all sprouted. Try not to let your soil dry out at all. And just remember to be careful depending on whether you do or did not do drain holes. But as you can see on the side that I let some of the green come out of, that's actually what it will end up looking at like. And these will continue to grow in the sun, and the onions will grow to the size of their container. They'll push right up against each other and fill this container up. When you're all ready to harvest, you can just snip off your greens, dump the container out, and harvest your onions. Alright guys, so it is as simple, cheap, and easy as that. Make sure that you have a ton of fun doing this. Be creative, do what works for you and what works for your space. Use different size containers, different kinds of containers, maybe decorate your containers. Personally, I'm thinking about making a macrame hanger for this and hanging it up in front of the windows rather than putting it on my counter. So it is whatever works for you, just have fun with it. And I will definitely take some pictures of this as it grows, and if I do a macrame hanger, I'll post it over to my Facebook page. Make sure to head over there to a couple of preppers We would love to hear from you. You can maybe leave some pictures, the things that you guys decide to do and how it comes out for you. We'll definitely look forward to hearing from you. And I hope that you guys have fun and have a really good harvest with this, and we will see you on the next one. Have a great day. Say bye.